You think being available makes you valuable, that replying fast earns respect, that always showing up makes you trustworthy, that being nice is the path to power. But what if I told you, your constant presence is the reason they don't take you seriously? You want to be remembered, but you never leave. You want to be desired, but you never create distance. You want power, but you're acting like a servant. The most powerful people in history understood one thing: visibility kills mystique. When you're always around, you lose your edge. When you answer every call, your silence loses value. When you never disappear, your presence stops meaning anything. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He didn't just study rulers, he advised them. He knew that the appearance of power is often more effective than power itself. And to appear powerful, you must be scarce, not absent, strategic. People don't value what's always in front of them. They take it for granted. They expect it. They stop seeing it. Think of the sun. It rises every day, warms your skin, keeps you alive. And yet, you don't thank it, because it's always there. Now imagine if it vanished for 3 days. Panic, desperation, obsession. Powerful people understand this dynamic. Your over-availability breeds emotional poverty in others. They stop feeling your worth because you've made it cheap. Niccolo Machiavelli wasn't a cynic. He was a realist. He knew that if a ruler became too familiar, they'd become disposable. Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality, he wrote. And the constant presence of a leader made the people forget what made them powerful in the first place. So, Machiavelli advised something brutal and effective. Appear when it benefits you. Disappear when it doesn't. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about control. He understood the oldest law of influence. Perceived value drops with overexposure. Let's talk about your eagerness. To please, to help, to always be there. You think it makes you loyal, it makes you expendable. You think it shows your worth, it shows your lack of it. When you're always the first to reply, when you never say no, when you make yourself endlessly available, you're sending a message louder than any words. I'm not that important. And people believe it, because humans mirror what you signal. If you act like you're abundant, they treat you like gold. If you act like you're desperate, they treat you like dust. Here's a painful truth. People chase what retreats. This isn't manipulation, it's human psychology. Scarcity increases value, mystery increases desire, distance creates gravity. Powerful people don't flood you with attention. They make you earn it. They don't explain themselves constantly. They let silence do the work. They don't rush to prove their value. They let the absence of their presence speak louder than words. Machiavelli knew, to rule the hearts of others, you must first withhold yourself. You think no one notices your neediness, but they do. They hear it in your over-explaining. They see it in your instant replies. They feel it when you show up, even when you weren't invited. Desperation isn't just unattractive, it's dangerous, because it hands over your power before anyone even asks for it. Machiavelli advised rulers to give the illusion of accessibility without ever surrendering control, to let people think they're close, while always remaining just out of reach. That's the sweet spot of power, present but elusive. But what happens when you finally pull back? When you stop responding instantly? When you become more selective, more deliberate, more mysterious? In the next part, we'll uncover how Machiavelli used distance not only to protect power, but to provoke obsession, and how you can use the same principle to reclaim your energy, your presence, and your life. Imagine someone texts you and waits. They don't chase, they don't double message, they leave you hanging. Not rudely, but purposefully. What happens? You think about them more. You wonder what they're doing, why they're not replying, whether you even matter to them, and suddenly they're in your head. That's not magic. That's psychology. When someone steps back, your mind steps forward. When their presence becomes irregular, your interest becomes obsessive. Machiavelli didn't invent this. He simply named it. And he used it to keep powerful men and manipulative courts in his orbit, because nothing makes people chase more than silence. In war, retreat isn't surrender, it's strategy. In power, absence isn't weakness, it's leverage. Machiavelli understood this paradox deeply. He knew that when a ruler became too familiar, they lost the aura of leadership. So he warned, it is much safer to be feared than loved. Fear, of course, doesn't mean cruelty. It means distance. It means commanding respect, not chasing approval. And one of the fastest ways to restore that balance is to stop being everywhere all the time. The less you say, the more weight your words carry. The less you show up, the more impact your presence creates. Why are mysterious people so compelling? Because mystery creates projection. It lets others fill in the blanks, often in your favor. When you speak less, people imagine more. When you disappear for a time, they assume you're working on something powerful. And when you reappear, they're curious, even intimidated. Machiavelli leveraged this constantly. He knew that mystery was not deception, it was design. To appear everywhere is to be forgettable. To appear rarely with precision and purpose is to become unforgettable. Think of the leaders who shaped history. They weren't always visible. They didn't respond to every critic. They chose their moments. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't argue with everyone. He showed up when it mattered. Marcus Aurelius didn't flood his empire with presence. He led through stillness, through absence that meant something. And Machiavelli, he wasn't even a king, but rulers read his words like scripture. Because he knew, if you're always explaining yourself, you're not leading, you're auditioning. True leadership doesn't chase attention, it creates gravity. You don't have to be cruel, you don't have to be cold, but you do need to be selective. You don't need to reply instantly, you don't need to attend every meeting, you don't need to let everyone into your world, because every yes you give without intention dilutes your influence. Machiavelli advised rulers to be generous in speech, but private in action. Let people see the outer performance, but never the inner mechanics. That's how you stay ahead. That's how you preserve power. Make your access a privilege, not a given. You don't need to ghost everyone tomorrow. Power isn't built on extremes. It's built on calibration. So you start small, delay your responses, show up intentionally, not reactively. Choose moments of silence, even in conversation. Let others speak more than you do. Each act is a reminder. You are not available on demand. You are not a product. You are not a servant. You are a presence. And presence has weight only when it's scarce. But here's the shadow side. What happens when you become too detached? When your silence becomes isolation and your withdrawal becomes loneliness. In the next part, we'll confront the danger of misusing this power and how Machiavelli's lessons walk a razor-thin line between strength and self-destruction. There's a fine line between confidence and coldness. Some people hear Machiavelli's advice and go too far. They pull away not out of strategy, but out of ego. They stop responding not to create mystique, but because they've convinced themselves they're above everyone. And here's what happens. They stop being respected. They start being resented. Because absence without presence just becomes apathy. And power without warmth creates revolt, not loyalty. Machiavelli knew this too. He warned that a ruler should inspire fear only when necessary, never as a default. Detachment is a scalpel, not a sword. Use it with precision, not brutality. You don't need to be around all the time, but when you do show up, it must matter. This is how you become unforgettable. Machiavelli wasn't preaching invisibility, he was teaching impact. Think about it. A single sentence from someone rare and thoughtful can shape your whole week, but 10 paragraphs from someone who never stops talking, you forget them by dinner. The world doesn't remember noise, it remembers weight. If you want influence, make your words, your appearances, your presence mean something. Because the rarest resource today is focused attention. Timing is everything. If you're always present, you lose your leverage. If you're never present, you lose your relevance. But if you can appear at the right moment, you become magnetic. Machiavelli advised rulers to let the people wait, to build tension, to withhold, not forever, but just long enough for the hunger to grow. Then, and only then, to strike with precision. You don't need to rush, you need to land. One of the fastest ways to lose power, over-explaining yourself. Why you said what you said, why you didn't text back, why you need space, why you have boundaries. Every unnecessary explanation is a leak. Every just making sure you know I care is an energy drain. Machiavelli taught rulers to be deliberate in speech, but never indulgent. A leader who explains too much is seen as insecure. A person who knows their worth doesn't need to narrate it. Their actions say enough. Machiavelli was a long-game thinker. He wasn't interested in daily applause. He cared about enduring influence. And you should too. Every moment you don't speak is storing gravity. Every delay is sharpening curiosity. Every time you say no, you raise your value. It's not about withholding to manipulate. It's about choosing when and how to show up for maximum effect. This isn't cruelty, it's clarity. The more you act with intention, the more power you reclaim. Not everyone should have access to you. Machiavelli understood the cost of poor associations. A powerful person who gives their presence to everyone dilutes their own identity. So ask yourself, who drains your energy? Who expects your time but offers none of their own? Who only sees you when you're available but not when you're distant? These are the people who must feel your absence, so they can finally understand your value. Let them wonder, let them reflect, let them miss you. If they never do, they never mattered. You've seen how distance shapes desire, how silence sharpens respect, how being less available doesn't make you smaller, it makes you stronger. But what if this isn't just personal? What if society itself has conditioned you to overgive, to stay visible, to keep performing? In the next part, we expose the deeper cultural deception and how breaking free from it might be the most radical act of power left. You were trained to be visible, from childhood, from school, from work, from the internet. Smile more, say yes, be available, be reachable. We praise those who respond instantly. We reward those who never rest. We admire those who always show up, and we call it dedication. But Machiavelli would have called it a trap, because the more you're seen, the more predictable you become, and the more predictable you are, the easier you are to control. Modern life has replaced power with performance. You think, if I'm always available, they'll see how hard I work. If I respond to every message, I'll seem committed. If I take no breaks, no silence, no space, they'll know I care. But what do they actually see? Someone burned out, someone desperate, someone replaceable. Visibility has become a substitute for depth. Machiavelli would have laughed, because true rulers weren't rushing to prove anything. They decided what was important and walked away from the rest. Your attention is your currency, your presence is your wealth, and your availability is your leverage. When you give it away freely, you become spiritually bankrupt. Not because attention is bad, but because indiscriminate attention is powerlessness. Machiavelli believed rulers should inspire awe, not by being loud, but by being intentional. You want real power? Control where your eyes go. Control who gets your time. Control what you don't react to, because every moment you don't spend on noise builds gravity. Social media makes presence feel mandatory. Online 24/7, posting, checking, replying. If you're not there, you fear you'll be forgotten. But here's the paradox. The less you post, the more curious they become. The less you reveal, the more they want to know. The less you explain, the more they listen. This isn't strategy, it's psychology. Scarcity triggers attention. Silence breeds curiosity. Invisibility creates magnetism. Even in a digital world, Machiavelli's law still holds. He who appears less controls more. Try this. Don't respond immediately. Don't explain every boundary. Don't tell them where you're going, what you're doing, or why you're unavailable. Just be unavailable. See what shifts. Suddenly, people listen harder. They reach further. They speak with more intention. Why? Because your presence is no longer a given. It's a privilege. And privileges get protected, not exploited. Machiavelli wrote for rulers. You may not wear a crown, but you have a kingdom. Your mind, your time, your energy. Stop handing it over like a peasant. You don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to respond just because someone knocked. Kings don't open the gates for every visitor. They observe, they choose, they protect the sanctity of their realm. And when they do appear, people rise to attention. That's how you must carry yourself. Not with arrogance, but with quiet sovereignty. But here's the final question. What do you do once you've reclaimed your presence? Once you've become deliberate, selective, powerful? How do you live? Not just as someone who pulls away, but as someone who shows up with undeniable force? In the final part, we reveal the secret behind every powerful reappearance and how to make your presence land like thunder. Power isn't just about withdrawing. It's about knowing how to return. You've created space. You've gone quiet. You've made them wonder. Now what? You return with force, with presence, with clarity, with direction. You don't return to explain. You return to shift the room. That's what powerful people do. They disappear, not to vanish, but to re-enter as a storm. If you come back the same, you've wasted your silence. Machiavelli believed a leader should return not just to be seen, but to make a statement. So when you reappear, speak less, but mean more. Move slower, but with certainty. Say no more often, but say it with grace. Make eye contact that lingers. Let silence hang until they lean forward. You're not just present. You are a force. They don't just see you, they feel you. That's the difference between someone who is noticed and someone who is remembered. You used to talk just to fill the silence, to explain yourself, to keep people close. Now you speak with purpose. One line, one decision, one boundary, and the whole room rearranges. That's power, and it doesn't come from shouting. It comes from the absence that preceded it. Machiavelli advised rulers to master the long game, to disappear strategically so that when they returned, their presence carried the weight of mystery, fear, and respect. Most people lose power because they give away their attention, their energy, their availability. But the wise learn this: power is not a tool. Power is a posture. It's how you walk into a room, how you leave it, how you don't beg to be heard, how you don't fear silence. It's the way you let your energy speak before your words ever arrive. And when people feel it, they respond differently. Not because you demanded anything, but because they sense you don't need them. And ironically, that's what draws them closer. True power is not in proving, it's in knowing. Knowing you're enough, even when you're unseen. Knowing your time is valuable, even when others rush. Knowing your presence changes things, even if no one says it. So walk away sometimes. Leave rooms before they ask you to. End conversations with intention. Let people feel the silence. You don't need to teach them your worth. Let your absence do it for you. Machiavelli never begged. He never chased. He simply observed and moved when the time was right. You can do the same. You are not an alert. You are not a reaction. You are not a service. You are a presence, a force, a mystery. And the world doesn't need more people who always show up. It needs more people who know when to show up and when to disappear. So stop being available to everyone. Start becoming available to yourself. Watch how everything changes. Now ask yourself honestly, where in your life are you over-available? Who gets access to your energy without earning it? Let us know in the comments. What are you walking away from starting today? If this awakens something in you, give it a like. It helps the video reach more people who need this message. And for more bold, soul-cutting psychology like this, join our community of people walking towards the light. Subscribe and click the notification bell to never miss new insights. Until next time, keep shining, not to be seen but to see.